Hello everybody and a very warm welcome back from freezing Germany. I do hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Today I want to talk a little bit about reissues, upcoming reissues for 2024. So reissues which got coming out in January and February, and also some reissues which came out last year. But before we get into this, I have here my list. I'm getting asked quite often, why are we not getting deluxe or limited editions of some rarer soul or disco albums? Reissues like this. This is the Rhino 2022 reissue, obviously, of Superfly, which is one of the best reissues in that genre I have seen in years or ever. You got the first album as an AAA cut done and mastered by Kevin Gray. The second album is a digital version, which includes outtakes, radio spots, and alternative versions. So an absolutely dream come true. The thing is that record companies will say, okay, how much do we need to invest? And of course, we want our investment back, plus we want to have earnings. And if a collector comes up and says, I would love to have a special edition of J.J. Barnes' Born Again, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest soul albums ever, it's not very likely to happen because we are still a niche, but we are growing daily, and that's awesome. New channels are coming up, people getting more and more into soul. That's fantastic, but we are still not at the point that the records label will say, okay, we are making this huge investment to do this reissue, and because we want also profits of this. And this will be very difficult because you had to make a huge marketing campaign and, once again, more investment. You know what I'm saying. So I don't think that this will happen anytime soon, but I'm pretty sure that one day there will be some reissues like this from lesser known albums. I'm pretty sure, but not anytime soon. But we won't complain because there are some great reissues on the way. So this year there will be more stuff coming up. And also last year there were some great reissues. And I think we should start with last year's reissues. One personal highlight of mine was Lim Taylor's You Hear Me Knocking. This is a soul masterpiece from 1974. It has never been reissued before. It was done on the Crossover Records, which was run by Ray Charles. And it didn't sell much. There wasn't a lot of marketing at that time, but it's an absolutely stunningly beautiful record. If you want to have an original, it's like, if you find one, it's like a couple of $100 or euros. So yeah, that this record came out as a reissue is an absolutely blessing. It came out as a limited edition of 500, 200 colored versions and 300 in black vinyl. It's still available. It's out there. It was done by Inner Groove Records, and it's fantastic. So thank you, Inner Groove Records, for doing this reissue of that masterpiece. Also, on Elemental Music, The Supremes Are Go-Go has been released last year. And what I want to point out is that they reissued the mono mix, which is considered as the better version of these two releases, the stereo and the mono. The mono is considered the better one because back in those days, not so many people had stereo equipment. So the mono mix was always the one which most of the artists or the engineers paid more attention to. And what makes this album very special is it came out in 1965, and it was the first album by a female group who reached #1. And it also included the #1 single, You Can't Hurry Love. And not to mention that it was done by African American singers. So this is a really special album. Finding originals, Motown, first pressing is also getting very pricey because those were the party records. You took them to your friends to parties, so the condition from most of these records are not the best. So doing reissues like this, I'm super happy about. All right. What else do we got? The great Jackie Wilson, Higher and Higher from 1967. This album includes, of course, his song he's best known for, and which is, of course, Higher and Higher. This was done. It was remastered and taken from the original master tapes. I don't think that it's an all AAA chain, but what I do think what happened is that they made a digital copy of the original master tape and worked with that. This was done by ORG Music, and it's fantastic that nowadays people make the effort to get access to the original tape, and an AAA chain is always way more expensive than the digital version, but making the effort to do a remastered version of anything, I'm very happy about this. So thumbs up for Higher and Higher on the ORG label. An instant classic, and also very tragedy. It's a very tragic release. It's Karen Jones, Under the Influence. This is a kind of electronic disco record, and it came out in 1982. Unfortunately, Karen couldn't do any more albums after the release of this one because she died in 1984. The cause of her death is speculative, so I don't want to go into this, but it's very unfortunate. I would have loved to see where she would have gone. Finding also, once again, an original of this is almost near impossible. I have never seen one in person, and also if you find one, you can bet it's not cheap. It's absolutely not cheap. It was released on Record Store Day last year. It's not a remastered version, so what they might have gotten was a digital copy of something, or they did a needle drop. I have no idea how they did it, but I'm very happy that they put out this reissue and put some spotlight on Karen Jones. It's still available on the Tidal Waves music label, so that was great. A classic, an absolutely classic. This was the first album of the Counts, and it was called What's Up Front That Counts. And the reissue includes 3 never before, never heard bonus tracks, and it was also being remastered. Once again, it's not being said that it's an AAA chain, so I don't think so. It's once again being done on the ORG label, so we are in for a treat. Once again, I'm super happy that the effort's been taken to do a remastered version of that album. So these were, no, I still have one left. I still have one left. So The Childites, A Lonely Man, which was the 4th album of the group. It came out in 1972. So this also has been done remastered from the original tapes. Once again, I think it's been done with a digital copy of the tape. It was also being done by the ORG music label. My recommendation for this one is A Lonely Man was their most successful album, and you'll find an original copy of this still for a very affordable price, between 5 to 10 euros. I have seen it many times on record fairs. So if you come across this record as an original and the condition for you is working and also the price, I would recommend to go and grab this. If you don't want to do this, and if you say, okay, I prefer a remastered version from the original tapes, I would absolutely recommend and go for this reissue. But if you're saying, I want to have it on a budget, I would absolutely recommend go and look for the original release. So these were some of my recommendations from last year. So you can see there are things happening. And now let's talk about 2024. And BT Express, Do It Till You're Satisfied, has been reissued on Friday Music, and it's coming out on February the 23rd this year. So it's not the first time that this reissue has been done, but in my opinion, there can't be enough reissues of this record. It's a piece of funk. It's a tremendously great record. Also, this one is more available. It's not super cheap, but it's still very available if you prefer to go for an original. This one will be released as blue vinyl pressing, and it could easily be a blaxploitation movie soundtrack. It's that kind of funky and entertaining. BT Express, go and check out that album. That was their first album. It's more funky, like I said before, instead of later works where they got more into disco. But that's coming out on Friday Music. The Mon Clairs, Dreaming of Season, was originally released in 1972, is now being reissued on P-Vine, and it's about to be released on May the 2nd in 2024. Also, this one has been reissued before, but it's just fantastic to put once again spotlight on the Mon Clairs, because they were a fantastic vocal group. They were absolutely playing in the highest possible league, but unfortunately they were not getting the attention they should have. So also recommendations are the Mon Clairs. Next one is a very interesting one. It's 2 Tons of Fun. So these 2 women became later on the Weather Girls. And what song do we associate with the Weather Girls? It's Raining Man. Yeah, that was their biggest hit, an absolutely mind-blowing top hit of the 80s as well, and still being played in the clubs. So this one has never been reissued, and it's coming out on January the 26th this year. What I want to point out also with this one is this is widely available as an original. I've seen it a couple of times up here in Germany and also in European record stores between 3 to 5 euros. And I'm pretty sure in the United States it might be available as well. So if you don't want to spend 18 to 20 euro on this reissue, I would always recommend with this one going with the original, because like I said, it's widely available. All right. Marie Queeny Lyons. Soul Fever. This one was originally released in 1970, and if you're into funk, this one is an absolutely holy grail. I have seen one in person, and the starting price for an original pressing was 600 euros. Yes, you've heard me right, 600 euros. It's very, very rare. It's an absolutely fantastic album, and it's been being released on January the 19th in 2024. So also with this one, it has been reissued a couple of times, but also once again, it can't be reissued enough. Unfortunately, Marie only did this album. She did some 45s, but this is an absolutely funky masterpiece. So I can only recommend checking out this album and also this reissues. There is no mentioning of being that this one is being remastered from original tapes or an AAA chain. So I don't know what kind of version you can expect, but it's being released on January the 19th. Gil Scott Heron. Oh my God. I love him. So there will be from Free Will, which was released in the 70s, will be an AAA remastered vinyl edition, and it will be done by the Flying Dutchman. It will come out on January the 26th this year. I've heard from other reissues that there were some sound problems with it. I do hope that they fixed these issues now with this new version. If it's an AAA release, I think that the process of checking your output will be maybe higher, so we don't have to expect some issues with that. So I prefer Pieces of a Man, which is in my opinion one of his best works, but Gil Scott, his work is as much relevant and important today as it was back in the day. So Gil Scott, if you come across some of his records, just check them out. You will be blown away. From Italy, we have Eva, 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 and they released a disco record in 1978, and it was called Love Me Forever. This has never been reissued, and it's coming out on January the 15th in 2024. So the group was originally called Les Figues de Vento, and they were only active in the 70s, and I'm super happy if records are being reissued that had never been reissued. A personal highlight of mine is the classic Example. And it was, I think, first released in 1972. And also from this album, there had never been a reissue. So you're in for a real treat. It will be coming out on January the 12th this year. And if you are into duet albums from Motown, like Marvin Gaye and Kim Weston, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross, you are in for a treat. This is absolutely down this alley of duet albums from the 60s, emergent to the 70s. The male vocals are a little more present on this one, so you don't have like equally singing the female part and the male part. There are more male parts to it, but honestly, this is a fantastic album, and I'm so over the moon that there's finally a reissue of this album. It's just fantastic. Next one, a disco holy grail. If you come up an original, it will be starting price between 500 to 600 euros, and it's Soul Junction, Ron Henderson, and a choice of colors. This is a masterpiece. I can't recommend this album once again enough. An original is absolutely expensive. Never seen one in the wild, only in online stores, and the prices were just skyrocketing. So this one will come out on January the 24th in this year, and also it has been reissued before. It will be done by P-Vine, and P-Vine is actually known for doing some great reissues, so this will be a great chance to get this masterpiece. Honestly, I can't wait for it. Another highlight for me is Maran Farah and Satin Soul, Never Gonna Leave You. This came out in 1976. It was a kind of club act. They only did this one album, and it's absolutely fantastic. And in the production, Eugen Record, I love Eugen Record, was also involved. So you're in for something special. Like I said, it has never been reissued, and it's coming up February the 2nd, 2024. And we are just talking about the first 2 months of this year. So there is some stuff coming up, and I'm super excited about it. I would always check when you see, oh, there's a reissue of a record, which I like. I would always check how much is an original pressing. There's a difference of paying €5 for a near mint original and €20 for a reissue. We've had like 2 examples up here, but most of the time, especially with records that had never been reissued, the reissue is always the better choice, because most of the time the originals are quite expensive. All right, this was my little reissue video for this week. I hope you are doing well. And like I said before, I will try to do this more regularly as soon as I get some updates, and we will see what will lies ahead of for soul and disco reissues. I'm wishing you guys a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.